and welcome to Now Hangouts with me, Ankita Saxena. Well, this is a show that is targeted towards Gen Next, and we get you the most interesting conversations with startup founders and influencers. So let's get started. Influencer marketing is growing at a rapid pace. In fact, according to EY's report titled State of Influencer Marketing in India, influencer marketing is expected to grow by 25% in 2024, reaching a 2,344 crore rupees. The space is estimated to reach a 3,000 odd crore rupees by 2026, growing at a CAGR of 18%. Now, to understand and navigate through this cluttered space of influencer marketing and what are the expectations of brands, I caught up with Ayush Wadhwa. He is the founder of a digital marketing agency, Owl Media. In fact, besides Owl, Wadhwa is also an angel investor, and he's also featured in Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia list for media and marketing advertising. Let's go across and take a look at this conversation I had with him. Hi Ayush, welcome to Now Hangouts. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely doing this.
Right. Ayush, so you are helming Owl Media, right? So you are into content creation, you're also into influencer marketing, and then you're into podcasting as well. But influencer marketing is a sizable chunk of your revenue, as you were telling me. But tell us, what is the scope for influencer marketing? Because you look at it from a very brand lens, right? What is the scope for influencer marketing? What is the size of this market?
Huge, actually. If you look at any large enterprise, like take the HULs, Reckitt's of the world, they're still not spending as much on influencer marketing as much that they would spend on, let's say, performance marketing or even TV, right? It's a very small portion of their overall spends.
Correct.
Even today, like if you look at these large brands, they would sponsor IPL. In fact, IPL would have like a bazillion sponsor. You wouldn't even remember the sixth sponsor on IPL, right? But a lot of that money in the next few years will come to influencer marketing. The reason it has become a huge chunk of our revenue over the last couple of years is because of how the market is evolving. We started by doing large-scale ad films for TV, for IPL, for OTT platforms, and suddenly the same brands, the same relationships that we had with the brands, they're coming back to us and telling us that, boss, you know what, the same money that we used to give you for the ad film, can you give me 10 influencer videos, right? So the market is very, very quickly evolving, and for all the right reasons, I believe, right? Influencers are better connected with the audience. Influencers have the reach, arguably the reach is cheaper than what it used to be on other platforms. People are able to put a face to their product with each influencer. So there are a lot of benefits that, influencer marketing sort of brings in. So I think it's huge for a brand and huge for agencies which are coming in to, build a business around it.
Right. So you mentioned two reasons. One is the reach. The influencers get picked up for their reach, and also because they're cheaper. They're a cheaper medium to advertise. Is that what you're trying to say?
Maybe right now, but I don't think that's the right way to look at it, which is, because eventually if they...
For the reach, they're cheaper. Let's put it like that.
Correct. For the reach, some of them are cheaper. But for example, if you do performance marketing, then sometimes performance marketing is also cheaper, right? So price is not the right comparison. The reason price is not the right comparison is because when I run an ad on Google or a Facebook, I can track the purchase.
Correct.
It's very simple to track. Whereas, for example, I wear a band. I recently put up a story of this band, and 6 of my friends bought this band. But the company does not know it. This is an actual story. The company does not know.
There's no way of tracking it.
Correct. So there are ways of tracking it, but most campaigns are not tracked, right? Yeah. So currently there is not a good enough ecosystem of tracking.
So why are they betting big on influencers if there is no way of tracking it, or there's no metric to check what's the conversion rate? Because that's very important, right?
Correct. It's a super important metric. However, influencers not only give trackable conversions, but the branding and the noise that they create, the conversation that they create. Okay. There's a very important attribute on social media which is beyond sales. It's conversations. Right. Is your brand being talked about? Is your brand being spoken about? Because today, especially us, right, people who live in tier 1 India, we make a lot of our decisions basis conversations. Okay. Like we speak about how Zomato has a really, really cool social media, but that's conversation. Right. There is no... a regular person is not discussing metrics, right? It eventually then has an impact on the metrics. The thing is, when you used to put a billboard outside, nobody was tracking metrics. Right? It was all very कि अच्छा ठीक है मैंने आज campaign live करा था तो suddenly sales पे spike आया, उसके basis पे people used to correlate numbers.
Yeah.
So similar things are happening in influencer marketing right now. However, as you move forward, tools are evolving. People are putting links across which are trackable. So मुझे लगता है आगे जाके tracking और better ही होगी, and then it'll become easier and more sort of reliable when it comes to influencer marketing to track these metrics. But right now, for a lot of brands, conversations matter.
Right.
You know.
So how does one measure their ROI? Let's just put it like that.
So
how do brands, when they come to
yeah.
you, how do they, I'm sure brands need to get an ROI, right? And they will ask, I don't know if you're the right person to ask, but they'll probably ask you
ask
to,
us,
okay, they do
right.
ask you. So
Correct.
what are the metrics that you tell them, or what are the KPIs? How do you put it across then? There has to be something quantifiable, right?
Absolutely. So there are 3 ways to measure the campaign. In a lot of the campaigns, we have a UTM link, which is trackable, right? So for example, I won't name the brand, but it's a real money gaming platform that we work with, right? For us, we track every single metric. So the link that they give us, with that link, we can figure out that this influencer gave us this cost per install. This was the cost per view of that video. Then after that, how many installs led to signups. So we get into all that data, right? However, this is trackable because it's an app. A lot of times there are products or there are services which are hard to track, right? So in those cases, the companies only look at, let's say, the CPV or the engagement. CPV is cost per view. What is the cost that you paid to get that view? And how do they understand the value of that view is the analytics of that creator. For example, today, and I mean this a lot when I go to a brand, which is the views and the engagement are super important. But what is even more important is who is watching, who is engaging with that content. Let's say I have a following of 1,000 CEOs in the country, and let's say I only have 2,000 followers. So technically I'm a really small creator, but 50% of my audience is CEOs, right? Again, this is an hypothetical example, but after they get to know, okay, this was the cost per view, then they go to the analytics of the creator and they understand, okay, if I paid X rupee for one view, this view was of an audience which exists in Pune, Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore in the age group of, let's say, 25 to 35. So you do some guesstimation and understand, okay, शायद इस इंसान ने मेरा देखा होगा. So in those cases, it's a little blurry. But in the first case where there's a trackable link, you have probably a digital product which can be tracked, it's super, super seamless.
Oh, that's interesting. So tell me, I've always thought that, the inflection point for influencer marketing was during COVID, because everybody was sitting at home, and that's when it really went through the roof, right? And this concept of influencer marketing actually really started picking up during that time. But now everybody is a content creator, at least, or they call themselves influencers as well. So it's a pretty cluttered marketplace, right? Do you think that influencer economy in that sense has really peaked out because there are just way too many influencers now?
Not even close.
No?
Not even close. I think influencer marketing is, we're just scratching the surface. Okay. In fact, there was a very interesting, Netflix did this a few years ago where they started asking people that, do you think the content on Netflix is enough? And people said, no, not at all. Whereas we feel that, oh, we have so many, if I just scroll down, multiple shows, multiple movies being. Right. So content is that one thing, because what we don't realize is that while the amount of content pieces being created has exponentially grown, the people consuming the content and the amount of time that they're spending on content, that is also increasing. For example, 10 years ago, you weren't spending, or I wasn't spending 2 hours scrolling reels. I was not, right? I used to probably spend 30 minutes on YouTube. So our content consumption habits have evolved. Today, these kids at 13, 12, 11 years old, they are scrolling their feed all the time. So yes, the amount of content creators is potentially at an all-time high right now, but so are the number of mobile devices. So is cheap internet. So is the amount of time that they're spending on these devices and on an Instagram or YouTube. Secondly, I feel there are so many niches which people have not touched upon, right? Like we're seeing a huge rise of regional creators. Initially, creator economy was for the top of the India, right? Like tier 1 India, cream. But now people are realizing, oh, what do I do? What do I need? I need a mobile phone to create content, right? And internet and data are cheap. So that has led to an incredible penetration. In fact, some of the best ROI campaigns for us, for a massy product, have not been these large influencers and creators. They have been regional influencers.
Wow.
These regional creators who speak the language, right? And there's a fundamental reason behind this. Why was an influencer so popular? Because they were your online friend. An influencer was this relatable person who you're like, oh, this is how South Delhi aunties behave. This is how a South Bombay uncle behaves, right? They were relatable to you. But if you go one level deep, they were relatable to only that one cream of audience, right? Not to the rest of the India. Now, if you go to Gujarat and a small town, let's say Visnagar in Gujarat, वहाँ पे जो creator, the language that they speak, they know the language of that town better than anyone else. So in the future, right, like what I am predicting as the future of influencer marketing is these regional creators growing really, really big and them commanding a very big premium. So this is going to be a big, big thing over the next couple of years.
So if brands want to localize more or have a more targeted marketing, these are the people to go to, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so short format versus long format content. The action was on Instagram or short format content. But a lot of influencers who have been on the show are also saying that to build the audience, you need to be on YouTube. Which medium do you prefer, or where do you see the advertisers' eyeballs go towards? Is it Instagram? Is it YouTube? Long format versus short format content?
Long format is always going to be slightly more deeper than short format, right? Short format, like imagine how you discover short form content. You discover it through scrolls. So there's no intention. It is based on discovery. Whereas a lot of YouTube content still, even though YouTube has discovery, but a lot of YouTube content is intent. You search for something. So when you're searching for something, it is beyond 60 or 90 seconds. Some videos are 1 hour. Nikhil Kamath podcast, they're releasing like three hour long episodes.
Right.
Ganesh Think School just is releasing a 2 hour long episode, right? So when you're with that person for 2 hours, listening to them, the amount of connect that you build, the amount of trust that you build is much higher. Now, if let's say you are the creator uploading a 1 hour long video, the trust that I have in you is much higher than the 60-second creator, which means you can command a lot more money from the advertiser. Because what will you tell the advertiser? Ki boss, see, I have more trust with the audience. They listen to me for longer. Instagram creator will promote this for 10 seconds. I will promote this for a minute. Plus higher trust. Plus a platform where link is much more easily accessible. So on an Instagram, link clicks is penalized. Right? Imagine like Instagram does not want you to exit the platform. Even if you put a link in the story, it will open their own browser. They don't want you to go out. YouTube, however, allows you to put a link in the description, in the comment section. It's just easier. So as an advertiser, I would always prefer YouTube. But again, if you're a young company, YouTube is expensive. So Instagram can give you the initial dopamine, even as a brand and as a creator.
What are the brands telling you? Because you are in the center of the action, like you're between brands and you're between the influencers. What are the brands asking for, and what is it that the influencers are not getting, and what is their ask, and how are you negotiating that?
I think I'll come to brands second. What influencers need today, influencer marketing is not like running an ad on Google. But a lot of brands consider influencers as walking billboards. They think that this is a walking billboard with reach. So just ask this person ki mere brand ka naam le lo. Take my brand's name and just propagate it.
They're not interested in the creative process or anything.
Yes. And that is a big problem. So one of the things which influencers want today is slightly more creative freedom. They say that, boss, I know my audience better than anyone else, which is true. It's a fundamental truth that the creator knows the audience better than anyone else. So let the creator take a decision on the creative choices that they take in the video. Of course, without hampering the brand communication. They will respect the brand communication, but everything around it. And every time we have done an influencer campaign, the best videos are the ones where the brand did give a significant amount of space to the creator. And the worst are the ones where the brand is like, I will give you the script, just
follow it.
That doesn't work. It's not a walking billboard. This person understands their audience a lot better than you, simply because they've spent more time with that audience. From a brand's lens, right now, the problem that you pointed out initially, which is ROI, it's blurry. For a lot of people, ROI is not very clear. So how people are justifying the ROI now, most people look at an influencer video as a medium to get reach. For example, you promote something with me and I reach 1,000 people. Brands are doing something which is very smart, and very few brands are doing it, and we are urging more brands to do it, which is a good creator makes a really high quality video. Now most brands end here. कि high quality video they made, reach came, campaign over. Smarter brands are like, you know what? You've already made a video, you've already put in the effort. Can you give me the media rights? So this pay slightly more money. They pay 25%, 50%, 100% of the amount that they charged, and they buy rights of that video and then run that video on ads.
Oh.
So a lot of the times, what people don't do is the same video, because you don't have to put the effort of making another content piece.
Content piece, right.
The same content piece can work on ads. And the best thing is if you're a big brand, you're doing, let's say, 40 creators.
Yeah.
And 4 work out really well. You've already done your
Yeah.
testing, right? कि 4 तो बहुत ही अच्छी चल गई. So let's pick these 4, purchase the media rights and run this as ads. This has worked out really well for a lot of our brands.
Interesting. That's an interesting thing. So it's like you're just buying the IP, like you own it now, right? It's the rights that you own. Intellectual property
Depends
rights.
on whatever deal you and the creator are doing. But in most cases, brands are like, I only need it for a month.
Okay.
Because after that, anyway, I won't run that ad, right? There's ad fatigue that comes.
Well, with that, it's time for us to slip into a short break. You don't go anywhere because we continue this conversation after the break. So let's talk about the money that is involved. Now, there was a report by EY that said that influencer marketing is likely to touch some 3,000 odd crores by 2026, and on an average, an influencer who's just working for not even 10 hours a week is making 10 lakh rupees a month. Is that true, firstly? And how much is an influencer really making?
Influencers are making a lot of money. They're making a lot of money.
Put a number.
Depends upon your following, your engagement, but let me put some numbers, right? Like, let's say somebody who is 1 lakh to 5 lakhs in followers on Instagram only. And it also depends what niche are you in. So let's pick up a highly profitable niche, like let's say finance or tech. Then you can command as high as 50,000 a reel to 3-4 lakhs a reel. This is one reel. So if you're doing 2 or 3 branded posts, you're making 12 lakhs potentially a month, which is a lot of money. And a lot of these creators are young folks. They're 22-year-old, 23-year-old, potentially you can call them kids. They're so young, right? So influencers are making a lot of money, and this doesn't end here. This can, for example, if you're a beauty lifestyle creator, not only can you can promote lipsticks. Even song companies pay these creators to just make a video on their song. That's it. You do whatever. Just put the song in the Instagram. That's another income source. What else can you do? You can do affiliate marketing. You have a product which people trust. You bought a dress, post a picture of that dress on your stories, put an affiliate link, you get a percentage of the revenue. These beauty lifestyle creators also get paid when they visit an event. Like one of my friends just got paid a lot of money just to show up for an event for 3-4 hours. Right? So it's not just the brand deals. So yeah, influencers are making a lot of money, but it's again tip of the iceberg. Very few creators are able to truly monetize. There are a lot of creators with like potentially 1 million followers making 50-60K a month. So your content has to be monetizable. It has to be advertising friendly. Good enough people need to be watching that content, because an advertiser will only advertise with you, especially a good company, if you have good eyeballs. Eyeballs don't matter anymore. Good eyeballs matter. So yes, people are making a lot of money.
That's interesting. Good eyeballs matter, and it moves where the good, the meaty followers are there. Like, I mean, it's not the numbers anymore.
Correct.
So, do likes and comments don't matter, because people are crazy about how many likes did I get, how many comments are there on my post. That doesn't matter anymore.
It matters. It very well matters, but you won't command top dollar with just that. Or you will command top dollar from an extremely massy brand. Like, think of any consumer brand which is very massy, which is potentially present on all parts of the country. They will only look at probably likes, right? Because they're like, my product is what, 10, 15, 20 rupees. So let's say if a company like Mamaearth would be advertising, for them this matters. But for HDFC Bank or an Axis Bank or a insurance company, they're like, no, I mean, it matters, but not the most important metric. They're like, who is following you? Is my potential insurance buyer actually following you? Are they from cities where, what is their income level? YouTube has a really interesting new feature where they give you a report card. In that report card, it's a report card of your audience. It tells you how much percentage of your audience is actually holds credit cards, how much percentage of the audience, and there are multiple metrics. Now that is super important.
Yeah. Okay. So somebody who wants to get started on this journey of content creation, what would be your tips? How do you become credible in this industry? Because there are too many influencers now. Credibility is something that you would want to aim for because that's what the brands are looking for now.
So this is a brilliant question, right? Because credibility is extremely important. Why? Because if you look at this setup, like there's so many people, so many like skilled professionals coming on set to make this shoot happen. Whereas to be a creator, it is super simple. I can literally pick up my phone, record a video right now and upload it. Because the barrier to entry and the friction is so less in making an online video, a lot of people are just saying anything. They are saying things without checking facts, without checking whether it's legitimate or not, and that is becoming a huge problem. Because if you don't fact check and if you don't put in the amount of research, which let's say you guys have been putting for so many years, or traditional media houses have been putting for years, it creates a bad space for the audience, because you might end up spreading a lot of misinformation knowingly or unknowingly. So I feel building, that's why brands are a little wary of collaborating with some influencers, because they speak anything and everything. As a creator, it's extremely important that you stay true to your ethics. You don't, you speak about anything and everything very, very carefully. The topics you pick, very, very careful, because you have eyeballs on you at all times. You can influence, like the word influencer came from influence, right? Comes from influence. So you can influence so many people, including kids, on so many things. So I think as a creator, you need to be extremely mindful of what you speak about, and how you speak about it. So just going through a bunch of resources, knowledge, fact checking everything is extremely important.
Right, interesting. Also tell us, a lot of influencers now, they're building their brand to build their own personal distribution, right? And then they get into building their own products or even services. A lot of influencers are doing that, diversifying into different business streams. So somebody who's a content creator who wants to diversify, how does one get started with that?
Diversification for a creator is extremely important, because this journey can be very short-lived. Fame, it can go anytime. People get cancelled all the time. So many things can happen, right? So if you're at a peak, you have to make sure that you make the best use of that peak. And today, honestly, the products don't matter, distribution does. Even for large companies who are building incredible products, all they care about is how will I get this product to the audience. So the influencers have cracked one really, really important thing, which is distribution, attention. People listen to them, people are ready to talk to them. So that is a huge leverage, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are starting brands. Some are successful, some are not, but it's going to be a huge industry where we'll see a lot of creator-led brands, creator-led companies. But how I look at it is into two things, right? One is businesses which creators are starting, which are built on top of their reach. For example, I start a perfume brand, or I start, let's say, a clothing company or a tech company. Let's say I make smartwatches, right? That's a business which is built on top of their distribution, which is the business is fundamentally going to be benefited from the distribution. But creators are also diversifying in other ways, right? They have made the money, so they can go into businesses which may not be related to consumer marketing at all, right? It could be a B2B business. But now just because they have the money, they can hire a team faster, they can potentially hire another co-founder, a CEO who can help them run that business, right? I think the more of what we will see is going to be these distribution-led businesses, right? For example, so many people, even celebrities are coming and taking equity, right? Like Kriti Sanon doing Hyphen, right? Like so many brands coming in. King started a perfume brand, for example. A lot of people today are using their distribution because they're like, okay, I have the attention, let me figure out a way to capitalize it. So yeah, I think it's going to be big.
All right, Ayush, that was a very insightful conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, after this insightful conversation on influencer marketing and brands, it's a wrap on this edition of ET Now Hangouts. I'll see you same time next week. See you soon.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.